10-second countdown, and then we'll be good to go. All right, what's going on, y'all? It is AVIOT Sunday Brew. This is an extension of the AVIOT podcast where we talk live to an audience out there. I'm able to give more unfiltered thoughts. Well, no, on the AVIOT podcast, I also give my unfiltered thoughts too. And that's coming back to y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's coming back this week. I'm going to make a concerted effort to make any other episode for the AVIOT podcast. My bad for the delay. It is what it is. I'm also showcasing my new glasses right here. Hope you like them. I went to Warby Parker to get them, and I have 2 new pairs. I want to get some more because I'm trying to get a different color wave and all that. But anyways, let's get into the news of today. I want to start with talking about the WNBA because I just got done watching the Connecticut Sun lose to the Los Angeles Sparks. For those of you who have been watching this, I guess this live for some time now, you know that I am a Connecticut Sun fan because I'm from Connecticut originally. That was a real hard loss to LA Sparks. Sanaya Rivers did her thing. Tina Charles started heating up later on. Bria Hartley, these are all Connecticut Sun players. She did well. I know she gets a bad rep for being a kind of dirty player because she's had some questionable plays as of late. And I think she's kind of trying to carve out her role on this team as being an enforcer. And the thing is, unlike another player who plays for the Indiana Fever named Sophie Cunningham, Bria Hartley, if she is trying to be an enforcer, at least she's an enforcer that produces. Because Sophie Cunningham, she is off and on, but she's not a producer like Bria Hartley is. I feel like Bria Hartley is a big part of the Connecticut Sun team right now. Yeah, so we are the worst team in the WNBA. I understand that. We lost a lot of our great players from last season. Alyssa Thomas, Bree Jones, Dejanay Carrington, DeWanna Bonner. We lost all the major producers, Ty Harris, and so we're pretty much starting from scratch. I look forward to our journey, but I really need the owners in Connecticut to do their thing to help us out going forward so that we can be a successful organization. I always feel like the Connecticut Sun, we trend upward and then we have the ability to win a championship, but we just never do it. We've had 2 shots at it. I remember the first time we were playing the Washington Mystics. That's their first championship that they won, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that's the championship that they won where Elena Deladon was on their squad. I was heartbroken over that. Then the Aces, their first of their back-to-back championships, they also beat the Connecticut Sun in that first one. The second one, they beat the New York Liberty. So it is what it is, but it was a pretty good game overall. Washington Mystics, speaking of the Washington Mystics, they beat, hey, Simply, how you doing? Talking about WNBA stuff before we get into the other news right now. But speaking of the Washington Mystics, they beat the Seattle Storm today. I thought that was a pretty, well, I have to go back and watch the rest of the game, but from what I have seen, because both them and the Connecticut Sun were going on at the same time. How you doing, Miguel? How you doing, AR? We're talking about WNBA right now before we go into other things, but always feel free to bring in other topics because I'm open to speaking on other topics. Just make sure that the topics are reasonable, okay? That's the point of this live broad stream, to have a conversation with you all. So like I said, I'm starting with the WNBA. But Washington Mystics, their game against Seattle happened at the same time that Connecticut was playing the LA Sparks. I don't like how the WNBA always schedules these games at the same time. They both started at 6 o'clock. They can do better at staggering their games so that people who are watching can look at all the teams and that every team has a time to shine. Do I speak Portuguese, Miguel? I do not speak Portuguese, but I did go to Portugal last year, and one of the terms I've learned was obrigado, right? That means thank you for men, and I think the women say obrigada, right? Can you correct me if I'm mistaken? And then I also learned another term, com licença. I think that's how you pronounce it, com licença. That means excuse me. So I was learning some terms because every time you go to another country, in my opinion, if you're a foreigner, try to learn at least some of the language so that you can have just kind of one-off convos or just basic conversations with people, right? Like they say hola over there in Portugal. So I think it's important to do that. Anytime you're going into another country, I think it's important to observe their customs and try to learn somewhat of the language. And that's just being respectful in my opinion. You're not going to get everything down because you're not a native of that land. But that's my 2 cents there. So like I said before, the WNBA, they could do a better job at staggering the games so that people can watch all the games that are going on and so that all the teams have a equal amount of time to get their shine. Oh, Miguel, you're Brazilian? Okay, you're Brazilian. Okay. Miguel, do you have any words in Portuguese that you think you can... How you doing, Michael? Miguel, do you have any words in Portuguese that you think you could share with the audience? I'm afraid to say it though, because a lot of times people be trolling on here. So for all I know, you might give me a word and then I'll say it and it means like jump off a bridge. So, no, Michael, no, not you. I'm talking to Miguel. Miguel was someone who was commenting before you. Apologize for the confusion there. Anyways, yeah, like I said, WNBA staggering games, got to do a better job there. Definitely got to do it. Yeah, Miguel, I'm serious. Miguel, I am so serious. I am so serious. People, they will, I'll ask a question and then people will really be trolling on here. So if, you don't have to apologize, Michael, but Miguel, people will really be trolling on here. So if I'm like, hey, tell me a word, tell me what's a word in your language. You'll give me a word and here I am thinking I'm saying the word and then I'm saying something totally different. And meanwhile, everyone who speaks that language is over here cracking up. So I'm not going there. So you could type in the word and then you could also type in the description of the word. And what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot and then I'll type on my computer whatever that word is to make sure it's accurate. But anyways, so also with the WNBA games today, there was Dallas versus Indiana. I've gone on record saying I do not watch WNBA games that involve the Indiana Fever. I do not appreciate that fan base. I do not appreciate a certain player on that team. Your father told you to sleep. Okay, Miguel, well, have a good night. or have a good rest. But I don't like how a specific player on Indiana is promoted above everybody else, and that player's flaws are not talked about as well. It's a mess. I plan on writing a piece that goes into it in more detail. The player I'm talking about is Caitlin Clark. I plan on writing a piece that goes into more detail about this because all the fanfare that surrounded her being in the league, I really think a lot of it boils down to anti-blackness, homophobia, and it's like she as a player to a lot of these people represent everything that is the antithesis of that, the antithesis of black, the antithesis of being gay. So, okay. So that is why I think that Caitlin gets a lot of praise. Now, on the flip side, and I always try not to mention these two in the same vicinity or mention these two back to back because it has blown back a lot on the other player, Angel Reese. A lot of times, hey, Livy, how you doing? A lot of times with Angel Reese, she's seen as the antithesis of Caitlin Clark. And she gets a lot of unnecessary hate. And it really is unfortunate just because she won a college championship game. I have to go over the story again. LSU had beat Iowa in the women's college national basketball championship game for Division I. And Angel Reese had gotten up in Caitlin Clark's face, said like this, pointed to a ring finger like, I want a ring, and did like this to her. She was taunting her after the game was over because Caitlin had gone through the entire tournament taunting other players. Do I have WhatsApp? Yes, Michael, I do have WhatsApp. And so people didn't pay attention or they praised Caitlin taunting other players, but then when Angel did it to Caitlin, and there was a reason behind why Angel did it because she felt that Caitlin was unnecessarily taunting other players. So she was like, right back at you, and I won a championship. So people took issue with that because they don't like black women standing up for themselves or black women standing in a purpose. So basically with that, Angel has gotten a lot of hate over the years. But despite all the hate, Angel has continuously been a great sport about it. She's handled it with grace. She's handled it very well. You know, at times she has said, you know, I don't like how I'm being treated and all that in her way of saying it. And she's talked about how it's hard to walk in her shoes with all the hate that she gets by media, and it's unnecessary hate. She is a good basketball player. She continues to develop. She's on a historic run right now with her double-doubles, getting a ton of rebounds and points over the last quite a bit of games. And despite that, a lot of people still can't find themselves to give her the proper credit that she deserves. With that, though, she has been getting awards. She has been rising and being shown in different lights. So you have, for example, you have her being on the NBA 2K26 WNBA edition cover. So Angel Reese is now on the cover of NBA 2K26, the WNBA edition. I think she's earned that. And from what some of the developers of NBA 2K have said is that Angel and her team have a relationship with the NBA 2K family. And also Angel's impact, not just on the basketball court, but off the basketball court, has been tremendous. Do I react, Michael? Do I react? I can. I haven't tried reacting to things, but maybe I can. I do want to make more YouTube videos. I do a lot of YouTube shorts right now, and I do the lives, but I do want to do YouTube videos going forward. The problem with reacting to content is that I always fear the copyright strikes, because a lot of times when you react to music, you'll have the music labels, they'll come down, and then you can't make any money off of the videos that you react to. It's not all about the money, but most people on YouTube, they're making content because in hopes of making a little, I won't even say most, a lot of people on YouTube, they're making content because they're hoping to make a living off of it, or they're hoping to get paid. Watch Angel Hair. I don't know what that is, but or Angle Hair. Anyways, going back to my original thing with the Angel Reese. Yeah, so if you look at what she's been doing, not only in basketball, she's been setting records when it comes to her rebounding, when it comes to her double-doubles, when it comes to her team impact in general. She has a huge impact on the team. And then you look at, she had a podcast, Unapologetically Angel, and it was really good. Okay, Michael, I'll check it out. Angle Hair, I'll check it out. Thank you for mentioning that series. Appreciate it. But you look, she Unapologetically Angel was great. She would do a good job of blending both the hip hop community, some of pop culture community, and the WNBA community. She had Serena Page and what's the boy's name? Cordell Beckham on there. They were the winners of the last season of Love Island, not this season, but the last season. She had Coco Jones, who recently got engaged, and these are also people I'm going to mention later on in this podcast, in this live episode right here. She had Lisa Leslie on there, Teresa Weatherspoon, so these are WNBA legends. So she did a good job, Angel, of blending just pop culture and the WNBA, and her podcast was pretty good. And clips from it were used in different forms, whether it be social media, whether it be on sports networks. So I definitely think that was a big contributing factor of why NBA 2K, the whole team, decided to feature her on the cover, because they're looking at her social impact, they're looking at her impact in pop culture. You had many different hip hop artists mentioning Angel's name in their rap songs. So that's another reason right there. Then you look at, she's actually performing well in the WNBA. She's performing well for her team. She supports other players. You saw when the finals was happening, I think it was the final game of the finals, game 5 versus the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. You saw that, yeah, Michael, don't worry. We have trolls in the chat. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. I don't pay attention to it. Don't give it any light. But you had during the game 5, the final game of the WNBA finals between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty, Angel was there supporting both teams, right? So she shows that she also supports people in the WNBA as well. So just her as a person, I like to think of her as a cultural icon, because a lot of people know who Angel Reese is. Even people that don't watch basketball, they know who Angel Reese is. You know her name. You see her name on a bunch of stuff, whether it be the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, their cereal, she did something with them. You had Angel Reese, now she has merchandise with her Me Bounds merchandise. And part of the proceeds for that goes towards helping combat cyberbullying. And the whole reason why she even made the Me Bounds merchandise is because people were making fun of her rebounding the basketball off of her missed shots, and they called it Me Bounds. So she said, okay, I'm gonna trademark this name and make merchandise off of it. So you look at the different things that Angel is doing in society. I know she had a deal with McDonald's. She's just always somewhere touching something. She has Reebok. She is one of the faces of Reebok for basketball right now. And so I think all of that makes her deserving of being the cover athlete for NBA 2K26, the WNBA edition. And she's also on, I think, the Legends edition. She deserves it. So with that being said, she's got a lot of hate. I know that RG3 used to be a football player. He's been saying, I think Robert Griffith III, I think that's his name. I don't care. He's been saying very disparaging things towards Angel, and it really bothers me when you have these black men commenting and saying negative things towards black women online, very unwarranted. And he said negative things towards Angel Reese that has caused a lot of hate to go her way. That's that. I have to make a video about that. My sister actually suggested that I make a video speaking on that subject. Now, I know that he made his disparaging comments, I think, last week, but I can still add my 2 cents to it. I don't like giving light to it. How you doing, Chris Jeans? How you doing? I don't like giving lights to the negative comments that are said towards Angel, but I feel that me as a black man, it is my job to help support black women who I feel are being unnecessarily harmed out there. And also, this being a media education platform, I think it's important for me to contribute my 2 cents on problematic voices in media. So I definitely will talk about that. You also had Candace Parker recently. Candace Parker is a legend in the WNBA. She just had her jersey retired for the LA Sparks. I believe she's going to have her jersey retired by the Chicago Sky later on this year, maybe in September or August, I believe. So with that, she's made some statements recently in which people are thinking that she's not necessarily congratulatory of Angel for her success. In one video that she did, and I have to watch the full, but the clip that I saw, it seemed like she was calling Angel Reese a role player. And if you look at Angel Reese, if you watch the WNBA and you look at her impact on the basketball court, Angel Reese is definitely not a role player. Angel Reese is a key fixture in the Chicago Sky's success. That's the team she plays for in the WNBA, the Chicago Sky. She is a key fixture in their success. And even this season, you don't win any games. The Chicago Sky cannot win any games without Angel Reese playing well. Hey, to Amigo 25, how you doing? How you doing? Talking about WNBA, we're about to pivot from here in a second. I just wanted to finish my talk on Angel Reese. So, the Chicago Sky, they don't win any games without Angel Reese. My thing is, role players are important, but for someone to be key to a team's success, to me, that's more than just being a role player. So I'll probably make a video speaking more in detail about this Candace Parker comment, supposedly likening Angel Reese to a role player. Can you remind me who Angel Reese is? Angel Reese is a WNBA player. You type in her name. Her last name is spelled R-E-E-S-E. If you type in her name, you'll see a lot of articles about her. Angel Reese is very popular to Amigo 25. Yeah, I know Mr. Beast, Michael. I do know Mr. Beast. I don't listen to Mr. Beast, but I do know. So anyways, so I say all that to say, Angel Reese, I believe she's a cultural icon. She gets a lot of unnecessary hate. A lot of it comes from people's need to try and protect a white individual who she rightfully challenged in the past, about 3 years ago. Because that LSU championship, what was that, 2023? Come on now, we're about to head into 2026 soon. Like, that's a long time ago, man. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Shaking my head. Staying on basketball, kind of weaving more into pop culture. Some news came out recently that Klay Thompson, who used to play for the Golden State Warriors, now plays for the Dallas Mavericks, is dating Meg Thee Stallion. Big hip-hop pop star Meg Thee Stallion. You are kind otherwise. Oh, Mike. Yeah, I mean, Mike, the thing is, with this live right here, I try to acknowledge people, at least people who are not trolling, and I tried to just, I guess, focus on the different comments that are made that would contribute to the conversation. So who knows in the future when these lives start taking up more, we have more comments, we don't know how things are going to be. I'm going to try and respond to people when I can, but I appreciate your input on this live right here. But yeah, Klay Thompson of the Dallas Mavericks is now dating pop star Meg Thee Stallion. To me, I thought it was interesting when the news came out. Like me, I care less about the dating relationship lives of celebrities. I do think that a lesson could be taken from some of them, and I do think that some of them are a little entertaining, but I'm not going to focus all my energy on that. I was wondering when I saw the news come out, I was wondering how these two are going to coexist, because Klay Thompson and Meg Thee Stallion, their personalities seem so polar opposite. Klay Thompson seems like he's more to himself, more reserved, kind of a stay-at-home guy, doesn't really like to go out, whereas Meg seems like she likes to be outside all the time. She's younger and she likes to dance and party. So it'd be interesting to see how their relationship works out, if it is successful, and how they interact with one another. That's a very interesting pairing. But hey, I'm a proponent of black love. Proponent of black love. Speaking of black love, another NBA player, Donovan Mitchell, he recently proposed to singer Coco Jones, and I love that for them. I think it's wonderful, and also I love the fact that these are combating a narrative that you often see in society, that black men don't want black women, or that black women don't need black men. So it was nice to see these two black couples together, and the Donovan Mitchell Coco Jones pairing, him proposing to her, I thought was nice. It's nice to see that. I'm always going to cheer for black love. I think it's cool. And you see some posts that are coming out with Coco Jones saying that she wasn't going to really talk about her relationship with anybody unless she came out engaged or married or whatever. Hey, Funny Insightful, nice to see you. It's been a while. Nice to see you again. Yeah, so I think it's cool. I'm kind of a proponent of that, though, because a lot of times when you post your relationships on social media, unless you're really locked in with the person, it could definitely catch people off guard if you're like in a relationship and then you break up with the person and then people are now like, oh, what happened to so-and-so? But if you're married or you're engaged, I think it has a little bit more weight to it. But it is what it is. Like me, I don't even broadcast my relationship on social media. Like everybody knows I'm married. I have my wedding band on every live, but I'm not broadcasting that. I think part of it too is because some of the topics I talk about are a little controversial. So I don't want that blowing back on my family. And it is what it is. I mean, some people out there, they're very nosy. So even if you don't share your relationship with people, people are still going to search to see more of your relationship. Funny and insightful. It's been a while. You seem to have taken a topic of pop culture. Yeah. I'll be honest, funny and insightful. So with the content in general, and I got to get back to making the podcast episodes too, it's been a little difficult because I've been really big into WNBA right now. It's WNBA season, and everybody knows that follows this platform that I am a huge WNBA fan of the league. I love the players. I love their grit, their tenacity, their poise. So I've been following that a lot, been staying out of politics. And it's not because I'm afraid of it. It's just because me personally, I feel like nothing ever changes. Like, for instance, I had a thing right here. You have President Joseph Boakai from Liberia. He met with the U.S. president, and no, I'm not a Fever fan, funny and insightful. I actually really don't like the Fever. I was explaining it earlier. Let me finish this and I'll tell you why again. But yeah, so the president of the United States was telling the president of Liberia, he was saying, oh, you speak English well. Where did you go to school? Or yeah, where'd you get an education from? And that was very disrespectful. You know what I mean? There were so many undertones of bigotry that were there. So you see a black person that is speaking well, and now you're questioning their education, or just in general, if you're non-black, it's not cool to tell a black person you speak so well. Even if you are black, I think just telling anybody you speak so well, it's like you're challenging their intelligence in a sense, right? You're saying, oh, well, you speak so well. So what does that imply? You thought I can't speak well? You're surprised by my education? I think maybe for kids, maybe you could be like, oh, you speak so well for a child, because that's implying, okay, well, they're learning a lot. They are growing their education as well. That's different. But to say to a grown adult, you speak so well, to me, that's insulting. And the president of the United States saying to the president of Liberia, like, oh, you speak so well, where'd you go to school? That was very unnecessary. And I got to dispel this whole belief in general that Africans, people from Africa, are not intelligent. They're very intelligent. They're some of the most intelligent people on the planet. It's a lot of times it comes down to resources that they have, and a lot of times with the African continent, African countries, the reason why they don't have many, well, they do have resources, but a lot of the resources that they have, other countries are coming in and meddling in their affairs. If you know the history of colonization, of slavery, of genocide, you'd understand why different African countries are the way they are now. Okay, funny and stuff. I think it's okay to say, even in adult world, that you speak so well in some specific context, but at the level of a leader of a country, I'd imagine they'd have better small talk. So funny and insightful, where do you think would be appropriate to say to an adult, you speak so well? This is not me being combative, I'm just asking. Where do you think it'd be appropriate to say you speak so well? I have a hard time thinking about it in a positive sense. I wouldn't say that to anybody. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, you speak so well. I just don't see where that would be appropriate. So that's that. But as you write up a response, in terms of the Fever fan, the reason why I'm not a fan of the Indiana Fever, I think that the WNBA caters a lot to that organization because they want to see the success of Caitlin Clark. And I don't believe catering to one player is ever a good thing for a league or an organization to do. The WNBA has so much talent, and catering to this one player who is very flawed, I think is not good. And I think that a lot of the fans of Caitlin Clark, they're really, Michael, why are you writing Japanese? Why are you writing Japanese in the chat? But okay. I feel like fans of Caitlin Clark, a lot of them, they're only fans of hers because of what she represents. She represents anti-blackness. She represents homophobia. She represents bigotry. And it's not necessarily her doing, although I believe she could do more in order to push those narratives off her, but she just kind of stays silent. I think that it just has to do with you have a heterosexual white woman from the Midwest, and a lot of people in those areas tend to be very bigoted. So funny and insightful. I'd imagine if someone is speaking in a different tongue, for example, English is my third language, and when I tell that to people, they're surprised to see the command I have in this language. I get it. Oh, Michael, that's Cantonese? It looks Japanese. Okay, my mistake. My mistake. Wait, no, Chinese? I don't know what you're saying, man. Anyway, so funny, insightful. Okay, so English is your third language, and you'd be okay if people said you speak English so well. Me personally, I wouldn't say that to someone like you. I wouldn't say you speak English so well because I just think it's insulting. If you ask me specifically, how am I speaking English, I can give you critiques based off what you asked me. But unprompted, I'm not going to say to you that you speak English so well. I just wouldn't say it. If someone has an accent and I know that English is not their native tongue and they're speaking a certain way, I'll think in my head maybe some thoughts, but I'm not going to say it out loud. Not every thought needs to be broadcasted. So that's that. And I also hope you understand my dislike of the Indiana Fever. I just don't like them. I really don't like them. I don't like how the WNBA caters to them. I don't like their fan base. A lot of their fan base is very bigoted, and a lot of their fan base is not respectful of other people. Now, that's not to say that other fan bases aren't quite problematic in the WNBA too. You have some fan bases that are also problematic, but Indiana is just a special case. I don't like them. I hope they don't win the championship this year. I really don't. But I was talking about the NBA players dating celebrities, Coco Jones and Meg Thee Stallion. They're both musicians. Speaking of dating, we gotta go into Love Island. I was talking about, see you, Michael. I was talking about Serena Page and Cordell Beckham, who won last season of Love Island. This season right here, I've been hearing reports of this not being a great season. A lot of people are unhappy with how things are. They don't feel that the couples are really connecting. Last week, I believe I talked about Nick and Olandria, and I made a video talking about it too, how I felt it was problematic, a lot of the narratives that are being crafted about them. Recently, Shelly and Ace, who were a monoracial black couple, they were voted off, and people are screaming that this is bigotry also because the claim is that because a monoracial black couple won last season, America did not want another monoracial black couple winning this season. I tuned in and out of Love Island because my wife watches the show. I don't really care for the show like that, but a lot of what I've seen has been problematic. Love Island in general is a show about vanity, a show about finding love. It's really about winning money and getting your profile out there. Maybe people might find love, maybe people might get into a relationship, but for the most part, it's about vanity, in my opinion. And so you have couples that America is trying to force together or that they like because, I guess, of the aesthetic. And I believe that from when I tuned in and looked at the show and I was seeing Shelly and Ace, it seemed like they had the most chemistry out of all the couples. It seemed that everything else was a little forced or that there was no chemistry at all. So for them to get voted off the show, I'm more inclined to believe this whole theory that America didn't want a monoracial black couple winning the show twice. All right, funny and insightful. Well, fundamentally, that means you take a genuine reaction of a person as their opinion or a statement based on a certain bias. I don't know for sure. It's certainly distasteful. If they continue to see it, you speak so well, you are one of the better ones. Yeah, if someone says you speak so well, you're one of the better ones, that's crazy, in my opinion. You take a genuine reaction of a person as their opinion. Sorry, I'm trying to understand the statement, so that's why I'm paused. Fundamentally, that means you take a genuine reaction of a person as their opinion or a statement based on a certain bias. I think it depends. Like just me, for me in general, I try to use my words wisely when I'm speaking to people or when I am critiquing people, right? So if someone is talking to me, one thing I never liked is if if English isn't their native tongue and they're speaking kind of broken English or they're speaking in a way that I can't necessarily understand, I'm not gonna tell them speak English or speak better. To me, that's insulting because you see this person, you don't know their education level, you don't know the level that they have in terms of their understanding of the English language, you don't know if they're really trying here to communicate a message to you. So I try to hear what they have to say and I leave it at that. If I see someone who is like foreign, if I know they're foreign and they're speaking English in a way that a native speaker would speak, I might think in my head like, okay, cool. Or I might not even think anything of it. But yeah, the whole you speak so well, I just never think that's appropriate really for adults. That's the problem. We may be wise, but someone who is not sophisticated or does not think enough, they tend to speak without poise and positioning. True. That is true. That is true. That is very true. I'm waiting for the example, funny and insightful, waiting for the example. And as you type up the example, I'll just talk about this Love Island thing. So yeah, Love Island in general, I think a lot of these love shows, one of the things I never like about these love shows is how black people or black couples are depicted. I always feel that they're typecasted. You know that you're getting problematic characters on these shows, and having problematic characters drives ratings. I do think that when people are casted for a lot of these dating and relationship shows, the people who are casting them, the producers, they're saying, okay, this person right here, I know they're going to drive ratings because they're problematic. I know that people are going to be interested in them because they have an opinion that's going to be polarizing to the consumers. All right, funny, insightful. Oh, someone else is talking. I am. Welcome, everyone. Okay. I don't know what that comment meant. I thought that was funny, insightful. That's why I took my glasses off in the beginning. I had my glasses on because I was showcasing the new glasses that I got from Warby Parker. That way I don't have to look close to the screen. I can literally see everything from here. So funny, insightful. Here we go. I met someone probably a year ago, Seventh Day Adventist. He was an African American We did not know each other, but we were in a hotel and we started speaking, drinking beer, and I spoke about spirituality. Okay, I'm interested to see where this story goes, funny and stuff. I'm really interested to see where this one goes. But it's like I don't want to keep people on the line just waiting while I try to get to your next part. But those of y'all who don't know, funny and insightful, we've had some good conversations, good banter on these live streams in the past. They do a really good job of being funny and insightful, leaving nice, funny comments, leaving insightful comments, and we always have a good time when we speak on here. So I'm interested to see where this story goes. As I get back to it, let me get back to Love Island. Before I get back to it, and the funny and insightful gives their next part, let me get back to Love Island. So yeah, Love Island, these shows in general, I just think that the casting, they just look to who they feel is going to drive ratings, and they look for people who are going to kind of force drama, and that's not the thing that I like. So funny and insightful, after meeting this African American that they were in a hotel, started speaking beer. They spoke about spirituality, politics, Bible, and whatnot. Okay? And so Funny and Insightful said they're from a different background altogether, had no clue of this person's background. And okay, so y'all didn't know each other, but we did speak quite nicely with each other. Okay, so you were in an environment where it was comfortable and you guys were complimentary of each other. Okay, so you're in a safe environment, so you're getting to know each other. What I've seen, though, a lot of times when people say you speak so well, they don't know each other. So I go back to what the U.S. president was saying with the president of Liberia, questioning his education, questioning or commenting on his education and how he speaks. They don't know each other like that. So as you go back, okay, funny and insightful. Then you said, as the person you were speaking with in the hotel room got more comfortable with you, they started calling you the N-word. What? Not in a disrespectful way, just because he felt comfortable. Yeah, but funny and insightful. If you're not the same, see, I have a problem with that. Not you, this black person calling you the N-word if you're not black. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. Like me personally, as a black individual, I'm never calling someone who is not black that. I don't even use the N-word to begin with. But this person felt comfortable with you and he wanted to do that. That's his prerogative. I don't agree with it. But that's what he wanted to do. Okay. All right. Waiting for the next part of your story. I'm not liking what I'm hearing. I'm not liking what I'm reading so far. But it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the person. I'm not liking what I'm reading so far. Yeah, I think, black folk, we got to be better. I'm never a fan of calling non-black people the N-word. That's what makes non-black people comfortable with using the term, and then that gets very muddy because if I don't know you and you call me the N-word as a non-black person, we have a problem, right? People get too comfortable. I had a friend, or associate I should say, growing up. We grew up together, a white individual, and I guess some black people he hung out with were calling him the N-word, so he thought it was cool to call me that. That was not cool. That was not cool. I don't care if we grew up together. Like, that's a hard no. All right. I know, funny and simple. Yeah, I know you're not black. You said you were another culture or race in this person. Okay. You said you're not even American, but you met him in a county inn speaking at 4 a.m. in the morning. Now, I definitely could disagree with that. I could have gotten offended. Yeah, I got you. But it's like me. If I'm hanging out with a non-black person and they call me a derogatory slur or they call me a term that they would call a friend, like say I'm hanging out with a Chinese person and they have a term that they call each other that if someone else called them, they would be offended by, right? And then they call me that term and they meant it in an affectionate way. I would politely tell them, hey, thanks, but I'm not comfortable being called that. That's just me. Like, I understand we're cool, but I don't feel comfortable. Like, I'm not your race, I'm not your culture, I'm not your background, so please don't call me that. That's how I would approach that. But funny, insightful. I'm listening. I'm reading, trying to see what else you got going on. And while funny, insightful continues to type, thank y'all for being on the live stream. I appreciate every week. I know sometimes we do it earlier, sometimes we do it later, depending on how my day goes. but I try to get it every Sunday. I think 2 weeks I had messed up, but for the most part, I try to get this stream every Sunday. And I appreciate y'all who come on. We just have conversations, and this is really a kickback. I come with a list of topics to talk about, but unless people are chiming in with their own insight and their own 2 cents, I usually just stick to that list of topics. So Funny Insightful now says, so the person was being themselves, and obviously with a level of sophistication and influence of alcohol, yeah, he was not being offensive. He was just being himself. Just back to the roots. I knew that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He was being himself. He was comfortable, and he definitely was drinking. So he felt comfortable calling you the N-word. Like I said, me personally, I'd be like, please stop calling me that. I know you're comfortable. Please stop calling me that. But then also, you're not American, so you don't understand. Well, this is an assumption. I don't mean to be offensive. You may not understand a lot of the politics, a lot of the kind of social rules here. All right. And lastly, in this context, I had a choice to correct someone who I barely know and just met and make it clear and draw the line. The other choice was to let him be since we were having a good time. I got it. Yeah, to each their own. You felt you didn't want to correct that person because they were just being themselves and they felt comfortable. Me personally, I would find a nice way to correct the person. I do understand the social cues and what the word means and what context it's used. I got you. Hey, Z Gamer, how you doing? From Argentina. Yeah. I think, but the thing is, Funny and Insightful, it's not more so that. I'm thinking more so black politics, right? You said you're not black. Black politics is different. So me being a black person in our circles, and obviously black people are not a monolith, but for the most part, a lot of black people are not going to agree with a black person calling another black person, a person who is non-black, the N-word. A lot of black people are not going to agree with that. And the black people that do that within a lot of black circles. Okay, he said, but your point is, do we give enough room to people to be themselves, or do we draw the line strictly? You can allow people to be themselves. However, there are certain things that are not appropriate. In my opinion, and this is just me speaking. This is me speaking. So you allow people to be themselves, but I think there's a gentle way to draw a line and say, hey, I understand you're being yourself, but I'm not cool with this. Like say for instance, someone's being themselves and in their culture, they're touchy, right? So they start touching your face and stuff. If that's not something that you're necessarily comfortable with, or that's something that is not you, then you could be like, hey, thanks, but I don't like being touched. Like something like that. Obviously, that's more of a drastic example, but I think there's some nuance here. So if people are being comfortable with you, you allow them to be comfortable, but there needs to be a line sometimes. If you know the importance, if you know the history behind the N-word and you understand how many black people feel about it, having a black person that you just met use it towards you. Exactly. So the line that we draw is based on what I'm being comfortable with and what makes me uncomfortable. Correct. That is correct. I agree with that. Yes. Yeah. I'm disappointed in that black person you were speaking with, though, calling you the N-word, though, because he should have known better. And maybe he doesn't know better, but that's not cool. If you truly know the history behind, like my family's from the South, grew up Jim Crow era, dealt with the segregation and all that stuff, that's a no-no in my family. But maybe he just didn't grow up in that context. So, it's an interesting topic, though. I might use it for some content that I might create later on. I like that. I'm gonna think about that. Thanks for that. Anyways, with that being said, we have run over time. I try to keep this around like half hour, not too much after that. But Funny, Insightful, as usual, you're very insightful. We didn't have any jokes today, but definitely very insightful. I thank you for your contribution. I thank the other people that were on earlier for their contributions to this live today. And yeah, we're about to cut it, but what's brewing for me coming up this week, just creating doing the best I can to stay disciplined and to make sure I put thought-provoking material out there that will drum up conversation and truly help people in terms of what they're thinking about, how they process information, just a different perspective. And lastly, funny, insightful, I did not correct the person because he used the word in the sense of a friend. He did not demean me. I knew he meant it as a term of affection. I did not see him after that day as well. Yeah, funny and insightful. Yeah, that's true. Some black folk, they do say the N-word in a friend context. I'm just letting you know, in terms of like black politics within the black collective, which I'm a part of, a lot of us don't like that behavior. So it's like a term. The reason why this example was given is because if someone tells me that I speak nicely, I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't know better. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. To each their own. That's your prerogative. If someone's to tell me I speak nicely, I would challenge that. Just because my background is being black, having a higher education, and what I've been through in my life, I wouldn't appreciate that. So I would personally challenge it. But that's just me. People are different. So you're not wrong. And, I respect it for what it is. But thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. I keep saying podcast. This live today. Because AVIOT Sunday Brew is an extension of the AVIOT podcast. That's probably why I keep saying podcast. But thank you for tuning into this live today. Hopefully what I've said get y'all to think. I'm going to think about how to create some content based off of what was said today. And hopefully I'll see y'all next Sunday. Thanks for everyone joining in, and we'll see you next time.